Yo, 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 yo. You there, Mateo?
We are back. We are back. We are back.
You are frozen, but you are here.
Can you hear me at least?
I can hear you, yeah. I got that ugly mug of yours.
But I'm frozen.
But you're frozen. So while you're talking, I'm going to talk. Here he is, still frozen. Welcome. It's Sunday, May 2nd, while we figure out Mateo's technical difficulties. We would like to welcome you to the joint. There you are. You are unfrozen.
We're good, baby.
I'm not frozen.
Oh, dude, you literally got me.
Before we jump into the opening, did you even upload a new opening, or am I going to be?
I uploaded a new opening. I got you. Don't worry.
Look at this fucking guy. Listen, yes, welcome everybody to the joint. This is the 8th Toke. Very, very special guest for you tonight. Before we get into the opening, roll into the show, I just want to welcome back Mateo, who missed the last 2 Tokes. If you didn't watch
there, yep.
Yeah, I believe he got married, or his buddy got married, and then he just straight up ditched me last Friday or 2 Fridays ago with good old John. I hope you guys all caught up on John's episode from last week. An amazing grower out of Manitoba who's going to be doing some big things. So again, want to welcome everybody to the show. If you are watching on Twitter, really want to encourage everybody to hit up in the chat. Ask me some questions. We're going to dive into the show. Mateo, so please roll the 8th Toke opening. Your guest tonight is none other than
got a little trigger happy there.
I got a little trigger happy. So what I want to do is also give a little transparency. I tried my ass off to not have to do pull in sort of the relief and do my story tonight. But I ran into a roadblock with timing. What I can tell you is that the next couple of Tokes are going to be lit. We got confirmations from Dan Sutton, CEO of Tantalus Labs, that will be on. We have confirmation from one of my dearest friends, Norton, CEO of G-Tech, that'll be coming on. And something that we're going to probably do as soon as we get confirmation from the man himself, another one of my old friends, John Prentice, will be joining, former CEO of Ample Organics, just waiting for him to clear up some paperwork, and then we'll get into his Tokes. So yeah, like I said, I didn't want to have to pull out my story, but I really didn't want to miss a Toke. We've done an episode every second week with the new day and time switch. We hope we found a really good home here, Sundays, 8 o'clock. Full transparency, I am doing the show live out of Montreal, and I'm breaking curfew. So I'm going to try and not, babble on tonight. I really want to add some value, which is what I do when guests come on. So tonight, again, feel free in the chat to hit me up with questions. We'll dive into sort of how I got into this space. I'll give you an encapsulation of my last 8 years in the space. I'm coming up on my 8th year. I think my first entry into the space was in July or August of 2013. We'll get into that. But yeah, again, want to wish everybody a belated 420. We don't have any 710 topics for tonight. Just want to catch up. I didn't do anything for 420. Again, we were in full lockdown. So
Mike, how are you breaking curfew when you're just sitting at home? Like, there's no digital.
Yeah, so this is the new Canabroker studio / office. We are no longer broadcasting. We are no longer working from where I sleep. I've as of May 1st, which was yesterday, I moved into this new office, which I'm super excited about. It's a space that I hope to grow. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And yeah, that's why it's nice to do sort of like a good reset on the show.
For sure. New studio kickoff, new Sunday time slot. We figured, I guess we're rolling into the summer months right now. So Friday nights are going to be a little bit hard for scheduling for everybody, even for guests and stuff. So Sunday nights feels like a nice time to kind of unwind and listen to some news on the show. And Monday morning, you have a fresh new show up on YouTube and Twitter and all that. So I think the Sundays are going to roll well.
Yeah, that's it. I think we're having a little bit of tech. Can you check if we're having technical difficulties? Because I have no viewers that are watching, and I don't know what.
I have. It shows you have viewers here on my end.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
so I guess it's just me.
Maybe. Yeah.
So that's it. I guess we're just gonna. What we'll do is we'll dive in. What I did was I set up some captions to kind of get me to the space. So yeah, how did I get here? How did I become sort of a business development consultant? How did I become the counter broker? We'll just dive in. So I was always a salesman.
I could tell. No shit.
I come from a long line of salesmen. My dad was one of the more notable textile salesmen, and I always learned to sell. So it was 2011, and I was selling advertising in Montreal. And I used to work for a company that would set up fan zones and giant screens at like event spaces. So we used to do the Formula One in Montreal. We used to do the Toronto Film Festival. We did Super Bowls. We did FIFA World Cups. And this was like 2011. So social media, the internet wasn't like popping. People didn't have like cell phones in their pockets. It wasn't that type of space. It was coming relatively quickly. And what I did was we would sell advertising intertwined to the broadcast at people that were at these fan zones. So I started dating this girl who is now my wife. So quick cut to that ending there. And it was 2011. And as I started to get to know my wife and sort of her
let me tap into communicate. Is that just like were you just selling like digital advertising and stuff like that?
So we were selling digital advertising per impression. So there was no way to gauge anything. So again, if someone was going to the Formula One in Montreal, we would set up the fan zone. There was like 200,000-300,000 people there, and I would sell advertising on the giant screen. So I had a very good way of hardcore pitching. I learned how to pitch on the phone, do cold calls.
All sorts of industries. Anybody who's you probably have some big clients there if you're doing Formula One, TIFF, Super Bowl stuff. Yeah, it's big.
Oh yeah. But I always made sure that I was never pitching someone that didn't make sense to be at the actual fan zone, right? So I wasn't pitching like lingerie companies for Formula One, although there is probably a little bit of a segue there.
Overlay there.
So anyways, I started dating my wife. And I met her extended family, and she had her godfather owned a security company that was based out of Ottawa. And he saw that I was a really good salesman, and he told me, he said, listen, he said, the industry of security was changing technologies, and there was a very good way if you would set up a company, you would have a very good stream of revenue if you wanted to rip and replace hardware. So cameras at that time were all screwed in the same way that your TV was screwed in by a coax cable. So he was telling me, he's like, look, and the technology is going to be changing, and essentially cameras are going to turn into computers, and everywhere where there's cameras, are going to have to replace the cameras because those are antiquated technologies, and you're a really good salesman. So what I think you should do is quit your job and start a security company, and what you can do is pitch companies on just replacing their hardware. And it sounded really interesting. And I knew, like this was like 2011. So you could see like Twitter was starting, Instagram was there, YouTube was starting. And I knew that it was getting harder and harder to sell advertising at events. So I immediately liked the idea. And the Godfather, it's funny because I'm going to refer to the Godfather quite a bit in the story, but his name is David Trudell, and he owns a company based out of Ottawa called Marcom Systems Group Incorporated, which shortened is MSGI. So anyways, he's like, I'm extremely connected in the CCTV / physical security world. If you start this company, I can introduce you to distributors. I can set you up with the supply chain. And all you really have to do is go out and pitch, ripping out all these old cameras and replacing them with updated technology.
Right.
So I immediately was like, okay, this sounds really interesting. And so,
well, you could tell the landscape was going that way too. You can't use some like old ass camera system stuff, like if you just walk into a room and tell some story about like how you could update all these things, like,
it was the same way that your internet, it was the same way that your internet was running. So if anyone remembers dial-up internet, it was the same way that everything was slow on cameras. It was black and white. And now with the advent of high-speed internet, you are now going to be plugging, instead of a coax cable, you're going to plug an Ethernet cable. So the same way that you're plugging modems and routers for the internet, you were going to be able to connect essentially the internet to a camera. So it made it extremely interesting, not only the hardware to get rid of, but now you're going to be able to be loading like onboard analytics. You're going to be able to be making a camera essentially smart. So in 2012, I started a company with my now fiance's brother. His name was Dylan. And that was kind of one of the amazing, like, not caveats, but David, who loved his family and loved his goddaughter and his godson, was like, listen, I have no problem, setting up you guys and setting you up with distributors and all this stuff, but you really have to stick together, and you guys really have to like start this business together, because he wanted to make sure that his goddaughter that I was dating, that I'm then going to be marrying, was going to have some type of future, and if he was going to be helping me out, that was his stipulation. Right. So I was like, okay. So in I think it was January or February of 2012, we started New Age Site. And it was amazing. Like we literally started pitching companies like Garage, Ardennes, everybody that had a big retail footprint. We thought that we could rip out 10 cameras per store, right, and just replicate that by the 10s, by the 20s, by the 30s. And it was great. Immediately people caught on to the fact that they were going to have to replace the cameras, and then we went in and said, now you're going to be able to essentially watch all your stores from the comfort of your office, and now you're going to be able to like manage inventory, you're going to be able to manage marketing, you're going to be able to see who's coming into your store, where they're going into their store, and it was extremely interesting. So great. We were, and then we took solutions to parking lots. We thought, now we're going to be able to, run a cable and mount 5-6 cameras in a parking lot. Then we could sell systems for integrating, parking systems. So it was amazing. And true to his word, David out of Ottawa connected us to, amazing distributors. We were buying all our cameras wholesale, and it was amazing. Except there was friction between me and Dylan in terms of like where we saw the business going. Sure. And so we had gotten, my wife and I got married on Canada Day in July of 2012, and the business was going great. And then, push comes to shove, we just didn't get along. Right. He's a great guy. Again, long story short, New Age Site is fully operational. He's doing great. Big security company. Still running. Oh yeah, 100%. Check out his website. He's doing really, really amazing things, but it just wasn't. I make a really, really horrible joke that it was my marriage or it was the company, right, and I chose my marriage.
Family as well is always like a tricky situation getting into business, and you don't want to rub anybody wrong. Right, stuff.
So we were coming up on our year wedding anniversary, and I had left the business. And at that time, I think at that time I was doing I was reselling security equipment for a company that I knew, but I wasn't really doing any full-time work.
It's 2013 now, right?
It was 2013. I think it was even, it was May of 2013.
Okay.
So David Trudell calls me from Ottawa, and he goes, you're not doing anything in Montreal. I said, I'm really not doing anything in Montreal. He goes, you're really not happy in Montreal. I go, I don't know if I'm not happy, but I'm really not doing anything in Montreal. He goes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pack the car. I want you to pack your bags, and I want you to move to Ottawa. I want you to take your dog. We had a little Shih Tzu, and I want you to move to Ottawa. And at this time, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? He's like, you're going to come and you're going to work for Marcom. And what he had saw at that time was MSGI was the largest correctional service security integrator in Canada. So they were the #1 security company for all the prisons and big maximum penitentiaries in the country. So they monitored and they installed security systems in about 50 jails in the entire country.
Yeah, serious.
But what he didn't have was a private sector. He was like, look, I need someone to come in to be able to branch us off, because in that type of business, what you're doing is you're bidding on tenders, and what the government does gives lowest bid. So he was like, listen, I have a great business, but I really want to be able to open up a private sector. And I've seen what you've done with New Age Site, and you're a hustler, and yada, yada, yada. Move to Ottawa. And at this time, I was like, done. I really just wanted to get out of Montreal.
Needed a change.
100%. My wife was like, let's go. So we packed the bags, packed the car, packed the dog, and July 1st, which was our 1-year wedding anniversary, we celebrated in Ottawa. On the nation's capital. I remember it was Canada Day. We had an amazing party.
That's nice.
And we rented a house, and I immediately, I think it was like July 2nd or July 3rd, 2 days after moving in, I reported for work at Marcom Systems Group in Ottawa for The Godfather. Yeah. And I began cold calling. And he was like, I was like, what do you want me to do? He said, well, you know, whatever you did in Montreal for all those stores, do here. So
was there a certain industry you were trying to tap into? Or is that
I was going right in. I thought instead of going after the retail stores, I would go after the shopping centers. I said, you know, what Dylan and I did really well was like work our way in through the stores. You know, we were this small little company, but we had this, you know, amazing software. But now when I was backed by MSGI and I had 50 employees behind me, you know, this huge like design team, I went right for the shopping centers. We went right after like the Rideau Center in Ottawa, which we landed. I think we landed, what's the one at Square One? No.
Square One, Mississauga?
Yeah. Mississauga. Yeah. So I went from with New Age Site doing like 30, 40, 50 cameras to, you know, working for MSGI, and they were ripping and replacing about 3,000 cameras at a time. So immediately, like the power of this huge company, you know, took off. And this is what was amazing was I'm driving to work one day, and I think it was August 2013 or September 2013, and I hear on the radio, there's a company that's buying the Hershey factory and turning it into a medical marijuana facility.
We all know who that is.
Get your popcorn, because this is where the fun starts. So I'm driving. So if anybody knows Ottawa, I was living by the RCMP stables at the bottom of Saint Laurent. So right like before you get into going towards Orleans, at the beginning of Ottawa, I was living there, and I'm driving to work, and I hear the company's buying Hershey factory. I pull over to the side of the road, and I turn up the volume, and I start to hear, you know, with the launch of the Conservatives MMPR program in the fall, this company Tweed has purchased the Hershey factory in Smith Falls and is turning it into medical marijuana. And then I put two and two together, and I realized that I was 45 minutes from Smith Falls living in Ottawa. And I did what any red-blooded salesman would do. I drove
Chugged a Red Bull.
I drove to Smith Falls. Yeah. I called David on the phone, and I was like yelling. I'm like, there's a pot facility opening up in Smith Falls, and I'm going to Smith Falls. And he's like, go to Smith Falls. And I show up at the Hershey factory, and the fences were dilapidated. The old water tank was rusted. There was grass growing through the parking lot, and there was a giant fence around this thing that looked like a prison. And I said, wow, like this is just a massive facility that's going to need so much security. And then I spent Monday there. I drove back on Tuesday. I drove back. So wait,
what'd you do on that? What'd you do on that? Okay. Oh, you're just every single time you just popped up.
I showed up every day, and I started reading the conservative, the MMPR, and then I found the section on physical security directive, and I was like, oh my God, cameras in every zone, fence detection, 2 years of on-site storage. And I showed up 5 days in a row with a notepad, a pen, and a camera. And I started designing the security system in the parking lot.
But you haven't talked to anybody at this point. You were just kind of
at this point, no.
You knew they needed it. You're getting you're getting all your ducks in a row type of a thing and organizing it all in your head. And
there's cars on the other side of the fence, and I can never figure out where they were going in or who was going in.
Yeah.
And then on the Friday, I think it must have been like the Friday night, I would randomly like knock on doors as well. And then on this guy opens up the door, and he's like, dude, what are you doing?
Get out of here.
What do you do? Like, you've been here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's now Friday, and we've been up in that boardroom, and you're in your car, you're taking pictures, and you're on your phone, and I was like, I give him my business card, and I'm like, hey, Mike Elkin from MSGI over in Ottawa, and we're the largest correctional services integrator for CSC Canada.
Gave him the spiel,
I gave him the spiel, and then I handed him this binder, and I was like, that's your phase one design. And he laughed, and he's like, wow, your timing is amazing. And he's like, come in. And we walked upstairs. And I think in the boardroom was Chuck Raffici, Bruce Linton, I believe Mark Zelkukin was in there. And the man who brought me upstairs was the director of operations, Brian Greenleaf. And I sat there, and I gave an open pitch And I was like, look, we're the number one security company. We're 45 minutes away. We've done all these prisons. We can obviously do your marijuana facility, cannabis facility. And I remember Chuck gave me the drawings, and he was like, okay, like go make a proper design. And I think it was from that day that Marcon became the integrator for the first phase of the Hershey factory. And I remember to this day, it was October 20th or 21st of 2013. I was in Hamilton doing a private college trade show. So every year Ontario has a trade show for the Ontario colleges. There's like 25 of them. And it's the facility managers that all show up at some college. And I was pitching security there. And I remember I got a call from, who was it? Oh my God, Ryan Douglas, who was the head grower. And he's like, we need you now. We need to like install these cameras. We just got conditional approval from Health Canada to bring the clones and the seeds in. And I drove from Hamilton to the Hershey factory with a team. And I think I forget, it must have been like 29 hours straight. We installed the first like footprint of the cameras. And as we were running cable and throwing cable through the rafters, Ryan Douglas was wheeling in clones. And then
so, quick question here. So before you were stocking the facilities, before you drove there off on the whim, before you heard the radio little segment there about the new operations, were you a cannabis guy at all? Did you consume? Did you like? What was your experience?
Nascent, nowhere educated. I was like this high school. Like I never knew anything about anything to do with weed. It was like
barely consumed.
Indica or is it
around
sativa?
Or something. Yeah,
that's it. It wasn't anything that I knew about.
Gotcha. So
but
it's not
immediately
it's not like you had this underlying passion or something where you're like, oh, I need to get into the industry.
Or knew anything about the trajectory of how something goes from seed through a facility. So I didn't understand anything there was about like grow rooms, clone rooms, veg rooms, trim rooms, dry rooms, cure rooms, like tables.
Yeah.
I knew nothing. We really relied, and what was amazing was like the design was pretty thorough. So all we had to do was take their initial design, and we knew that there was grow tables, so we put cameras in between grow tables, and we really and to be honest with you, and other people who've designed security systems for cannabis facilities can attest, the original iteration of the physical security directive in the MMPR was like 6 lines. It was just nothing. It was like half a page.
No boundaries.
No, nothing. And I think even to this day, and I know there's I think CanDelta is on and watching. I think there's got to be some regulatory people on. I don't know if there's any from CCI, but I think it was never more than like 3 or 4 pages. It left a lot to be interpreted from bringing in other designs from other things. So whether you're doing a pharmaceutical facility or you were doing a bank, let's say, or anything that was high risk. Really good people before they enter into security design would do something that David Hyde made famous, which was a threat and risk assessment, right? It's understanding like where is the asset and then how are you protecting it from inside out and then from outside in. So understanding
did you guys have experience in sort of like the industrial sector at all? Because you were saying you were doing a lot of like,
these guys design prisons. So if they could keep, and that was my pitch, right? I would tell people like if correctional services want to keep inmates in, Health Canada want to keep people out. So
that's great.
It's the same thing. You had inmates, so we were designing for them never to leave, and Health Canada just want to make sure whoever's coming in, other people aren't coming in. So it's that ring of protection. But anyways, so October 20, we finished the design.
Prisons are pretty much a big industry. We'll leave that for another chat. Hold on, quick segment too. I want to give a big shout out to my big ass water bottle. Just because like I'm looking at myself and I look like an idiot, but I just wanted to know that that's what it is.
We're on a time crunch here, and I'm only at Canopy. I
love it. I love it. This is good. Keep going.
So what I realized was there was a humongous gap in people being able to design these systems because there was no licenses Tweed became, I think, license 12. And if you look at the Health Canada website and you're going chronologically, I mean, I think there was like 12 licenses before them, and a lot of them were transitioned from MMAR. So the program went from MAR to MMPR. Anyways, so here I was going, man, we just designed this amazing system. It's going to be one of the first. Where can I find other people that are going to be filing applications? And then I found there was a trade show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do this properly because I want to do this. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And here we go. This, can you see that?
Oh, that's some serious boys right there.
Yeah. So this was the first trade show we went to, which was June 26, 2014. I think if anyone watched the first episode of the Toke, the joint, John Fowler referred to this, which was
yeah. That little trade show in the bottom in the basement of the
basement of the convention center.
Yes.
So this was the first time that I met a few different cannabis people who were filing applications. And what I did was I chased them across the country. I said, hey, listen, we just finished Tweed's facility. We obviously know what we're doing. And I think we can design an amazing system. And so from 2013 to 2016, I must have designed upwards of 35 to 40 LP facilities. So we went from doing Tweeds, then we did 7 Acre /Supreme /Amcan in Kincardine. Then we did the Hexo facility, which was Hydro Apothecary up in Gatineau. I went over to Timmins and we did the Delshin facility, which is now 48 North. And it was amazing, but I really didn't love what I did. I was exhausted. Those 3 years drove me into the ground. It was for every one facility that we installed, I must have designed 4 facilities that never moved forward because everybody was filing an application. If you thought the application process was slow now, I mean, it was beyond. There was no communication that you had with any regulatory body at Health Canada. I was designing 4 systems, maybe installing 1, and just working to the bone. And I didn't love it. I really liked it, but I know I wanted to change. It was December of 2016, and I get this random DM from a guy named Brian Wagner, who ran a company called NHP Consulting out of Victoria, BC. And you have to understand something. From 2013 to 2016, there was no CanDelta, there was no CCI, there was no dedicated consulting firm that was going to file an application. This was a piecemeal on behalf of an applicant. So you had someone that was going to file an application. They would would have usually a lawyer, an accountant, some type of security consultant, and some type of person that knew how to write SOPs. So usually come from a natural health product consulting company. So there was Dicentra, there was natural health products consultants, but there was no dedicated body. I get this DM from Brian Wagner. He says to me, he's like, hey, I'm really looking to hire a security consultant on my staff. Do you know anybody that you can put forward? And how I knew Brian was that we worked on on some applications that he was writing the main application, then I was slid in as the security consultant. So our names appeared on the same application, so we knew each other from the
industry.
2013 to 2016. So my first instinct was not me. I didn't know if I wanted to be a consultant. I didn't really know what a consultant was. I knew I was a salesman, and it was my wife. All the credit to her. So behind every good man is a better woman. She was like, this is you. You're going to call him back. You're going to tell them that you want the job. You don't want to be running around selling. And she helped me understand that as a consultant, I could not sell. I could really just design, which was what my passion was. I enjoyed sitting down and placing cameras and putting together a server and a material list. It wasn't showing up at the facility with my hard hat and my steel toe boots and running cable and sitting on a ladder, that's what came with the territory from 2013 to 2016. I had to design, I had to sell, I had to go install with the team, and I drove myself into the ground. So I got back to Brian and I was like, I'd love to put myself forward. I'd love to have a conversation about why I think I'm right for the job. And what was really amazing about Brian, he was like, you know, what do you want? What can I offer you that will make you happy? That's going to in turn make you do this amazing job. And at this time, we had been living in Ottawa for 3 years. And it wasn't that I was homesick. We also, we had our first child in Ottawa. And we kind of missed the support of being back home. And I thought that if I took this job, he didn't want me to move to BC. He was like, look, we'll set up this team remotely. And he was like, full transparency, you're going to be the fourth guy on this team. So it's not like we have this, you know, massive team where we have to relocate. We got, you know, 2 people in BC. I'm one of them. We have somebody in Toronto, and you'll be the other entity, you know, where if you want to be based out of Ottawa, he's like, I'll leave it up to you. So I said, you know, I'd love to join you. I'd love to be able to, you know, work from home. I'd love to be able to, you know, travel when necessary. And I'd love for my ideas to be heard, which is kind of something that I ran into at MSGI. You know what I mean? I joined a company that was, you know, at that time when I left, I think there were like 100. They were on the cusp of being acquired. And I wasn't really being heard in terms of how to scale the cannabis side of security. And Brian, true to his word, was like, done. He sent me over a contract. I think it must have been in like 2-3 days of everything that I had requested. And I signed on the dotted line. And in December of 2016, I joined the cannabis division of NHP Consulting, employee number 4. And we were gonna conquer the world. So we, yeah, it's crazy that's how quick everything happened.
So that's the shift there. So that was Marcom, 2013 to 2016, and then now you're at NHP, which is kind of like a collaboration effort between you and Brian.
No, so Brian owns this NHP Consulting, which has been around for 7 years. They worked with companies like Jameson Labs.
I got you.
Natural Factors. So they were one of the largest over-the-counter regulatory bodies. So they helped companies get like vitamin C products into Jean Coutu. So they would write labels and stuff like that. So it was a natural segue for him to start doing cannabis applications during the MMPR, because again, you had people that had facilities that were producing vitamin C. So you had SOPs, you had quality assurance. So he was already in the space. He wanted to really scale up the cannabis division because you have to understand something else. October 2017, Canada was going adult use. So from 2013 to 2016, it was entirely medical, right? This was the first iteration of this program, which was the MMPR. And then we were getting ready for the ACMPR. Oh no, the ACMPR had happened during the MMPR. There was a project iteration, and then it was the Cannabis Act in 2017 when cannabis was going adult use. So Brian, the visionary that he was, knew that there was going to be a mad rush of applications to the market because it was going to be no longer about this medical program, and it was going to be this free market. And I think there was only like 45 or 50 licenses at that time at the end of 2016, start of 2017. But again, fast forward to now, 2021, there's almost 700. So you can see how fast they scaled in like almost 4 years. So anyways, January 2017, still NHP. Brian's like, we need to branch off. We need to form a company that will strictly not be confused with NHP Consulting, but really be cannabis focused. So we started kicking around the idea of, you know, what would that look like? And April 2017, I headed to my first trade show in, I think it was Berlin, which was the ICBC, and we had launched CCI, Cannabis Compliance Inc. And I remember some of the early conversations. I hated the name. And I remember there was a conversation where Brian said, I'm pulling the Obama order? And he was like, you're all vetoed and it's CCI. And I think it was April 2017. We had like 11 or 12 employees. We had scaled up the cannabis division. From January to April, and we had launched CCI. And then from 2017 to 2019, we helped license, I'd hazard to say, over 200 now LPs.
So what made you like understand the compliance sector so well coming from like security?
I knew nothing about, I knew nothing about the compliance. I knew everything there was about security, but what Brian did really well was know everything there was about all the compliance side. So all the SOPs, all the quality management. And then what we really did well was hire. All we did was, so like Brian's mentality was, we just got to keep surrounding ourselves with people that are smarter than us. And if we are not going to know anything, and we just continue to find better people, and those better people we empower to hire better people and scale those teams. And that's like really where we found some of the most unbelievable regulatory people in this space now, which are, you know, Brenna, Karina, and I don't want to give any last names, but you know, there's Samuel. I mean, Sean, Zara. The list goes on and on and on and on. And it was, I mean, there's so much to say within those 3 years. So, like, as CCI grew, I stopped doing security designs, and I started doing business development. I helped launch. Well, I mean, I had two. I came into CCI as security consultant / designer, and then I helped champion a division called Partner Channels. So we were forever just an application company, and my mentality, Brian, was like, if these people are coming to us to file an application, like, they should just stay with us to like build these facilities. There's no reason that we should file the application and they should take that paper and go find a general contractor. So he was like, what do you mean? And from my days in security, what we did was work on a team. Like, we were on a team with electricians and general contractors. So, you know, a great example is when we did like 7 acres, we had this like massive army that was like HVAC people and alarm people and security people and general contractors. So I told Brian, I was like, listen, let's go get general contract partners. Let's go get security partners. Let's go get vault partners. I was like, let's go get rubber glove partners. Like, if we can supply an outlet for these applicants to say, you know, what does CCI have behind the curtain? And we gave all of that to all of our applicants. You didn't have to use it. Look, if you wanted to go out and find your own general contractor, you can do that. But what I can tell you is, like, it was so overwhelming to be an applicant, to be able to like file an application. So I helped launch recruitment for CCI. I mean, we continued to take continue to dive into the granular aspect of what it meant to be an applicant, and then to get a license, and then to try and build a sustainable business, because like the application is the first thing. It's like, how do you turn the lights on? So we launched recruitment. You know, we thought that, you know, how could we help hire for these applicants? We launched an education offering for CCI, which was, you know, how do you educate the masses? How do you train people? So we really transitioned from a purely application-based company to a full services company. Mm-hmm. And I handed that sort of division off. So, you know, as I scaled Partner Channels, that sort of division got really big, and I worked my way out of that. But what I did really well was, you know, build a team and then leave, build a team and then leave. And then what happened was, I think it was the end of 2018. No, it was the beginning of 2018. I went to California and I started working with California companies. We started like branching out. By the time I left CCI, we were filing applications in 10 countries. We were 125 employees. And like I said, we had licensed over 200 LPs on that Health Canada website. So, I mean, I was traveling all over the world, doing business development. We were going to California when California went adult use in January of 2018 with Prop 64. I started working with companies like Select Oil and Papa and Barkley and Lowell and MedMen, because you have to understand something. There's this massive wave that, like you see today, all these states are coming on with adult use, and there was no regulatory body. So I remember saying to, and I don't know if Todd's watching, but Todd was the president of CCI at the time. And I was like, send me to California. I was like, I'll drum up business in California. And he was like, okay. So I booked a 2-week trip to California, and I didn't know anything. And I showed up there, and I immediately just started turning soil. And, you know, my pitch was, I was representing CCI, one of the largest cannabis regulatory firms from Canada, and immediately started to, get my way in. And that 2-week trip turned into 5 months, and I, brought my family down. And
crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I came back, and I think at that time CCI was like 75 employees, and it was 2018 was really our year. We had brought on people like Deepak and Anand, who I had met really early in the space. And that was our mentality. Like, we are only better together. I have these stupid sayings like, I just want to be the dumbest guy in the room. And if I just continue to fill people that are like Deepak and Karina and Sean and Zara and amazing sales people like Brennan Kerr and Eric Van Dam, and these guys that are now huge sales directors for massive LPs. And I would always tell people, I was like, look, like, if the greatest thing that we could ever do is employ our own people into, companies that we're helping license. So yeah, I had an amazing time. I went to California. I went and worked with companies in Florida. I met Kim Rivers. I met companies like TrueLeave and Knox. And, working for CCI opened up so many doors. And then it was...
So now we're at 2018, I think you're saying.
Yeah, so it was the start of 2019. We were huge. We were 125 employees. I had lost track of what, like, we were started having town halls. I mean, we started having like company retreats. There's a great picture on my Instagram of like 90 of us, doing like think tanks and ideation. But what happened was, as we started to grow, I started to see myself, more and more lose touch with what I loved, which, in these 3 years at CCI, I fell in love with the space. I fell in love with business development. I fell in love with the people that I were working with. And I started to work with people that I called friends. And it was April, I think, of 2019, and I knew people were knocking on the door to acquire CCI, and I knew that, and I consider myself extremely close with Brian, and I knew that he had gotten to a point where he knew he had to, for the sake of the families that he employed and everybody that he employed, he knew that there was a family behind that person, and that he knew that he had to bring in a company to take over. So in May of 2019, I had exited. I'd left CCI, and I took a quick position with High Noon. And what High Noon made me really understand was that my key to this space was connecting, was business development, was really understanding and listening to a business and then saying, how can I help you scale through my network? Because what I'd done really well for 7 years was create a crazy network and be true to myself and never fuck my name. Like, I never fucked anybody in this space. And that's, you're only as good as what other people say about you. And something that I believe in is relationships, reputation, and execution. Who do you know? What have you done? And what have you done with who you know? So I went right back to California with High Noon. It was amazing, because High Noon was like, we're launching a brand house, and we're going to launch a product in California. We're going to launch a product in Canada. And what value we think you can add is set up the supply chain in both Canada and California. So I spent the next 5 months doing exactly that. But I also realized was that I wasn't ready to be part of a startup again. And then I realized through what I had helped do for High Noon was that I could really monetize my relationships and my network. So in December of 2019, with the backing of my wife yet again, who told me, you can do this, I launched the Canna Broker. I launched myself. I put myself out there. And I immediately went right back to my Rolodex, went back to my well, and I wanted to start having conversations with people that I had helped either install a security system, design a security system, or I helped them license, or I helped them file an application, or whatever it was. And I figured I was in a position that I could pick and choose people that I thought would be successful and say, what are you looking to achieve? Show me that box. And if I can help check it, I'll put an initial by it. And hey, I've been in this space long enough that I know you're not thinking of this revenue stream and this revenue stream and this partnership and this way to spin this and this way to do this. And yeah, I mean, here we are.
That's great, man.
May 2nd, 2021, opening up my first office. And
that's a big jump, you know, coming from CCI. You're saying 2019 it's the biggest year you guys ever had. Huge company, huge team, growth, and you felt something just wasn't right. And not that it wasn't right. I mean, I don't know the full story, but just you just knew there was something else. And I feel like that's an ongoing thing with you as well. Like you have a hunch, and you strive for change in like a good way, you know, in a way that is exciting, and change can be really exciting, right? So you saw an opportunity and you went for it.
And I don't know if the people watching know anything about your background, but you know, you're a unbelievable, talented, talented, not prospect, but person in the cannabis space. So for the audience, people watching, Mateo handles all the marketing, all the social media for Shiny Bud, my favorite Ontario dispensary, soon to be national in Saskatchewan one store. But yeah, so I work with Mateo on a weekly, daily basis, and I do what I love now, and it's something that I advocate to everybody that I talk to, everybody that I work with, is that you need to find your happiness. You need to be true to yourself, and you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. So whether it's family, friends, or the people that you work with, you got to strive to find that. And you got to work hard. You got to work harder than everybody. Now, sure. I don't get a paycheck. It's like I'm dependent on my name, and yeah, I'm insanely grateful, like sickeningly grateful, because I know what we've been through. I know what I've been through in terms of like not only my life, but really this last year. And I've said it, I think, on every Toke. Like my life, my livelihood has been deemed essential by quote unquote the powers that be, but that's the universe. Like,
yeah, it could be a whole different. If your industry just changed a little bit, or if you never heard that Smiths Falls radio show, who knows where it would be, you know?
No, if I never met my wife.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Had I never met my wife, I never meet her godfather.
Yeah.
I never meet
another note here. So it's 2019, late 2019, you launched Canna Broker. It's been a couple years now, or a year and a half. I don't know, my timing's not right there. And yeah, you're doing what you like, you're doing what you love, and working with the people that, you know, you're surrounding yourself with good people to work with and all that. What are the next 3 to 5 years look like for you? Canna Broker growth?
Yeah. That's it. Can you see? So yeah, super excited to, you can see my screen, right, Mateo?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is clients past and present. Oh, I got to put up my 2 new clients. They're not even on that, on the page. So yeah, it's about growth. I just signed 2 new clients, Big League Genetics, super excited about those guys. Jameson and Dave just got licensed. I think it was the first week of April, bringing some fire genetics. And then I signed Her Highness, which is a female branded, female run company in New York City, Shiny Bud and Space Station. I've scaled down to be able to scale up with these 4. So yeah, that's the foreseeable future. Super excited, praying that travel opens up. And then first on my calendar is most likely going to be Hall of Flowers in September, which if travel is there, I know you guys are going to be coming with me. And then MJ Biz in Vegas, which will be in the end of October. And then right back to Palm Springs for the December edition of the Hall of Flowers. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I know I missed so much. I mean, the stories can go on and on. Really, if I can encompass it to this, is work hard.
Yeah.
Find a job that you love. You'll never work a day in your life. But also, like, you know, like you have to be able to sacrifice, because sometimes what you love will not bring in the most amount of money. And if money is something that opens doors, you have to sacrifice the door to walk through for something that you love. Like, yeah, man, I got lucky. Like I got like, it's the luck that makes me humble and grateful. Because like I said, I cannot sign a new client tomorrow. And that'll be that. So, yeah.
Oh, it's a good story, man. I'm glad to hear it. I learned a lot. I didn't know probably half of that stuff. All I knew was Canada Broker and above, a little bit of CCI stuff, but it's cool how life works like that, man. Sometimes all the puzzles, all the pieces of the puzzle just kind of come together. And you got to play your cards right.
That's it. So listen, I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, you won't have to hear my story again for a very long time. Tune in. We're going to do our next show, which is 2 Sundays from now, which is what, Mateo? Today's the 2nd, so the 14th? If it's the 14th or the 15th, but I'm most likely going to have Allison and Laura, the owners of Her Highness, on. And then we're going to probably bring on Dan Sutton and Norton and the guests. So we have a good lineup coming up for the next little while. Really want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Shout out to What's My Pot, who was the winner of the electric grinder, who now that I'm in my new office, all the boxes are unpacked. I will ship that out to you this week. What's My Pot for your arthritic hands, so you can continue to bid up good weed. And then tonight's giveaway to somebody that is watching, somebody that retweets. Where's the packaging for this? Is I don't know if you can see that, but this is from the nice folks at Cookie Jar. Cookie. So we're going to be giving out one of these cookie jars. And I have my own cookie jar right here. You put your cookie in the jar. So we'll be giving this one out to one of the people tonight. And you know the deal. Everybody has to like, subscribe, and retweet the show once it's up on YouTube. Again, be safe wherever you are tonight. Thank you guys for watching. Mateo, have a great night. We'll see you on the weekly call tomorrow. Thanks so much, guys. Roll the outro as we go.